Do 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 do. Ah. Well, hope folks are doing well. Hope you can see me. Hope you can hear me. And according to Steven, you can, in fact, do both. Hey, everybody. I hope that your day is going smoother than mine. This month, like, in some ways has gone okay, but in other ways it's been like, really? That said, I'm coming off of having had a very lovely weekend with Liz away, which is something I think we both needed. And to just, pull a quote from that premiere episode of She-Hulk, it's a good time in a bad time. So, whew. But yeah, I hope I hope folks are doing okay. I don't want to make it sound like things are horrible. I'm just kind of like exhausted in what feels like a very unproductive way. That's just kind of where I'm at after the day. You meet your 8-year-old self. You're only allowed to say 3 words. What do you say? It'll be all right. That's what I say. I just got let go from my job at Subway. Oh, Jamie, I am really sorry to hear that. Best of luck in finding something else. Oh, geez, Carolyn, you're right. I do have a super chat right out the gate, which I suppose gives me a good reason to discuss the chat and how things work around here in case anyone needs a reminder or is new. So I do try and keep up with the chat as best as I can, but the only thing that is going to guarantee that I see your comment or question is either to do it as a super chat, or if you are a supporter on Patreon and in the Council of Geeks Discord, there was a channel for you to post your questions. However, that the cutoff time for that was the actual start of the stream. So those had to be in already. But if you're not already supporting me on the Patreon, you could do that and be prepared to ask questions that way at the next live stream. But in the meantime, Super Chat gets you not only guarantee that I will read your comment or question and respond to it, but also gets you a heart from me in appreciation. So from John Vinyls, if Amphibia ever becomes a Broadway musical, you should play General Unan. I need to learn her whole spiel. Like, I don't have it memorized. I am General Unan, Scourge of the Slayer of the something. I gotta learn that. I could bug my kid with it. I think that I need to learn it for that reason alone. Watched your review of Sandman earlier today. The bonus episode or the full one that's up for the Patreon supporters? Oh, Michael Anderson Doyle, thank you very much. Member for 10 months. Thank you kindly. 7 months, not a dull moment to be had. Thank you very well. Thank you. Love your videos. Thank you, Riley. I appreciate that. Can't stay long, but everyone take care of yourselves and each other. Oh, thank you, Emily. Sorry you can't stay, but it was good to see you. How am I? I'm just kind of tired. That's just kind of what the day's been. Our philosophy is, that is an interesting chat name. So thank you very much for the super chat. For whatever it's worth, consider me one African-American individual who takes no issue with you dressing as 14. I appreciate that. It seems to be like based off the response I got to that video where I was wondering that question. There seems to be a lot less hostility to the idea than I think I had feared. I still don't know for certain how I'll feel. I think honestly, I think a lot of it might have to do with what Shurigatwa's outfit ends up being. And what I mean by that is I'm not sure, as much as I love Joe Martin's outfit as the fugitive doctor, I'm not sure I'd ever feel totally comfortable dressing in that, knowing that like the patterns that are in the shirt and like in the cuffs coming out of the sleeves are specifically traditional African patterns. Knowing that, I'm not sure I'd be comfortable cosplaying as that doctor. So if they end up bringing those kinds of elements into Ncuti Gatwa's Doctor, into the 14th Doctor, that might be where I'm like, But if those aren't there, I'll probably get over it. But we'll see. We will see what we end up getting. Got a new cat. Her name is Cleo. That's a popular cat name. She says hello. She's a big fan of your work. Oh, well, thank you, Cleo. Much appreciated. I ended up doing 3 culture questions because I was late and I had to go with whatever was top of my head. It's not meant to pester you to get the review out. I am in the home stretch on that one, 255 AD. I do expect I will have the review out this month. It'll be down to the wire, but I'm almost done with that book. So, by the way, I know you already did a video on Celeste, but the creator is trans and they confirmed that Madeline, the main character, is also trans, which in my opinion makes the game 100 times better. I feel like I'd have to replay it again with that in mind to decide if that alters my overall opinion of it. It might. It couldn't hurt. Like, I enjoyed the game mechanically. The theming to me didn't land with me as well as I know it lands with a lot of people. And I don't think it's because the theming is bad. It's just because from my experiences, both personally and those of people who matter to me, the way that it chose to depict what it was doing didn't quite land right. Did I watch the series premiere of House of the Dragon? Not yet. I'm probably going to end up watching that. Well, I don't know. I might watch that after the stream or I might watch that in the morning. It'll probably be one of the two. So most likely a review for that out tomorrow. Now that you're a full season into Babylon 5, do you have any thoughts on if that reboot by JMS is trying to get off the ground is a good idea? I don't know. So, like, here's the thing. There's a lot about Babylon 5 that, is dated. Obviously, the visuals, certainly some of the perspectives and characterizations. Garibaldi comes very readily to mind. And some of that, like, I would like to see tweaked. And there is an argument to be made that it's worth it just to bring the same core story up to date with those adjustments for a new audience. And like, I'm not going to say there's no value in that, but for me, that's not enough to have it be worth a reboot. And I don't know how you would like do a massive, we'll see. Maybe I'll have a different opinion as I get further into it. I don't know how you do a massive upheaval in its component parts or its plotting and still have it be Babylon 5. And that's kind of my concern there. I'm now 5 episodes into both Buffy Season 4 and Angel Season 1. Both are a little rough, Rowan. Buffy Season 4 actually has some phenomenal individual episodes. The season as a whole is rough. And Angel Season 1, it's kind of struggling to find its footing in that first season. Also, when the development team started working on Celeste, there was one trans developer, but when they finished making Celeste, 3 of them were trans. Well, correction, Jamie. They were all always trans by the time they had 3 who were out as trans. But I get what you mean. Thoughts on James Somerton's new video on Owl House? Also, does your kid hate General Yunin? If so, why? Oh, she doesn't hate General Yunin. I just like quoting stuff from shows, and it just as a way to bug her. I don't know James Somerton. I don't know who that is. So I have no thoughts on their new Owl House video because I have no clue who that is. Do you read any online webcomics? I haven't in a while. I used to read Sluggy Freelance. I don't even know if it's still going. But yeah, I liked that comic a lot. Every reaction / review of House of Dragon I've seen starts with, oh, it's not terrible, thank God. I'll see, like, here's the thing, and I'll probably do a review of the premiere, but, like, I don't know if it's something I'll stick with, not in terms of watching it, but in terms of reviewing it, because, and look, rationally, like, I know, and I understand that this is based off material that is finished. Unlike the main book series, this is based off Fire and Blood or whatever it was that is a finished thing. So they have the whole thing to work on, and the two guys who completely destroyed the end of Game of Thrones are not involved. Like, intellectually, I know all that. But I don't know if I'm going to trust that a Game of Thrones related TV series, even if it starts out good, will stay good. I just don't know if I can trust that. And maybe that's unfair because it's only going off one show, and this, as I said, has a different creative team. But, like, what the heck else am I going to base it off of other than the last show? I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what I think. Maybe it'll wrap me into it enough that I'll get over it. We'll see. Any favorite classic Doctor Who companions? Yeah, Ace and Jamie would be the big ones. I like Tegan, too. Do you have a comic collection? I do. Not a very big one. I only have one long box worth of stuff, and most of it is painfully 90s, because that's when I was actually buying loose issues. I haven't bought a comic in decades. I don't remember the last time I bought a single issue of a comic. It's been quite a while. What would your overall take on Babylon 5 Series 1? For me, it's interesting as so many things develop, especially Londo and Jakar, except for Garibaldi and the Doc, who are still asshats. It was interesting. Like, Londo kind of came fully formed. I'm actually not sure how much he developed over that first season. Jakar did. That was interesting to see. Yeah, Garibaldi, there are certain circumstances and certain types of stories or roles within a story that they give Garibaldi where he works. But my overall takeaway is, wow, this guy is such a freaking cop. And I do not mean that as a compliment. It's rough sometimes. But then there's Franklin, who, have I seen Young Sheldon? No. Someone would have to pay me to watch Young Sheldon. Thoughts on interactive fiction games that aren't visual novels. So what, you mean like the sort of thing Telltale did? I actually never really played too much of those. They seemed okay. Did Death of Superman really ruin Death in comics? Doesn't the blame belong to Jean Grey's resurrection in 86? Because that is undoing a classic death. So, all right, couple of things about Superman and the death and return of Superman. So, it is an oversimplification to say that the death and return of Superman ruined Death in comics, in the same way that it is an oversimplification to say that the Dark Age of comics came about because of the release of The Dark Knight Returns and Watchmen. The things were happening anyways. It's easy to point to these specific works as being a demarcation point, but in reality, Supreme Omega, sorry, I forgot to give you a heart there. But these specific works were the embodiments of something that was already happening. So to lay the blame on these works themselves is an oversimplification, although they are helpful as kind of a marker of what was going on at the time. I don't think the comparison to Jean Grey is fair, though, because the first is she was a member of a team, and as an individual, her life or death didn't mean as much as someone like Superman. Like, the whole idea of killing Superman is like, if you're not going to commit to it, why are you doing it? Whereas Jean Grey just doesn't carry that kind of weight. And also, like, she played her character was called Phoenix. Are we that shocked that a character named after a mythological creature that dies and rises from its own ashes came back to life. You know what I mean? So I don't think that comparison works super well. But like the short version is that no, the death and return of Superman did not break death in comics, but it works as marking as a bullet point of something that was starting to go on anyways. Do I own any vinyl? So yes, but okay. What I own on vinyl are things like Disney records from when I was a kid. Like I have, actually this was my mother's originally, I think. I have like the album for the Haunted Mansion. And I think I still have the Jungle Book soundtrack on vinyl. Oh dear. You've mentioned not caring for Rick and Morty. Any thoughts on Community? Only seen it recently, myself recently. I think I prefer to Rick and the abused teenager. I only ever saw the first episode of Community, and I just never... I just... That was, like, close to when it was airing, and I just didn't get hooked in. I haven't watched enough episodes of Community to actually have an opinion on it. Also, with regards to the review, if it was early September, that'd be fine because it'd come out during my holiday vacation like the Accession one did. We'll see where it lands. The lake where Dirty Dancing was filmed is sadly dried up due to a drought. It and many others. I've heard rumors of Disney doing a Firefly series, but with different characters, different time in the timeline. Any thoughts on the idea? Well, given that... Given that Joss Whedon is... Oh, hey, Meg! Hey, I'm glad you stopped in. It's good to see you. Sorry, let me get back to the question. Oh, and it's from Tidbit. I didn't even notice that. Hi, Tidbit. Thank you for stopping in. So, here's the thing. I don't think we would ever expect Disney anytime soon, if ever, to employ Joss Whedon given the kinds of on-set behavior and the general tarnishing of his image that has gone on. They won't hire him. So, and also for similar reasons, they would never bring in Adam Baldwin. So that's, the creator and one of the significant characters. It's already like, ugh. And I would say even more so than Buffy, Firefly really kind of was Whedon's baby. I mean, like Buffy became more collaborative as it went along, and Angel arguably was as dependent on some of the other co-creators, I think, like Greenwald, as it was on Whedon. Firefly really kind of was his thing. So if you're going to revive the series or reboot the series or whatever, in the absence of the original creator, it's probably better to do it with different characters, maybe in a different point in the timeline, different setting, different something, so that basically you commit to bringing back the feel and the flavor, but not the plot and the characters. Now, does that mean it'll be good? No. Does it mean fans will accept it? Hell no. But creatively, I think that's a better idea, considering the creative assets that they basically can't really use just for image issue reasons. So, we've got some more super chats. John Vinyls, thank you once again, my friend. Why do you think it's easier for people to still enjoy Buffy despite Whedon turning out to be a not great person than those Wizard books? Well, a couple of reasons. Like, the core thing to remember between someone like Joss Whedon and someone like J.K. Rowling is the problem with him were things that he did. And rightly or wrongly, it is easier to disassociate someone's actions from their creative work. J.K. Rowling, the people who dislike her, their problem is what she believes. And it is much harder to separate what one believes from their creative work. In addition to the fact that Joss Whedon, basically, as long as he's never handed the keys to a big budget for a film or a TV show again, doesn't really have on his own the ability to keep doing what he was doing, because what he was largely accused of at least substantively, was dictatorial and toxic on-set behavior. So as long as he's not in control of a set, he can't keep doing it. J.K. Rowling continues to voice her incredibly harmful beliefs about trans people. So she is continuing to do active harm, whereas Whedon, while this is not a defense of the man, he kind of can't do much more damage right now unless somebody gives him the authority to do so. And as I said earlier, nobody really seems to want to do that. So I think because of those reasons, it makes it easier to detach the problems with him because he's not currently being an active problem. And also it was an issue of actions, whereas Rowling, it's a thing of beliefs, which are more likely to seep into the original work. And it's something she is continuing to do. I think those are the two major differences, because then it largely comes down to whether or not Whedon's actions set off your own personal factor so hard that like you just can't deal with his work regardless. But if it doesn't quite hit that level for you, then, you know, there's still some enjoyment to be had. I haven't tried revisiting Whedon stuff yet. I mean, aside from Avengers, sort of, for the body count. But anyways. Do you watch any YouTube animator? If so, who? I watch Illymation. I think that's the main one. Thomp 10. That's fun to say. Thomp. Thank you very much for the super chat. Hey, Vera, not sure if I asked you this before, but do you have a favorite X-Men character besides Wolverine? Yeah, Mystique. And I know she's usually a villain, but that's still my answer. She's been a good-ish guy sometimes. But if you want backups, Kitty Pryde and Kurt Wagner, the Incredible Nightcrawler, would be the other ones. Where did I leave off? I've been on a big Sandman kick recently, so I was curious if you've read the Lucifer comics and or could recommend them. I never did read those comics, so I actually cannot give an opinion on those. House of the Dragon is fictional history of Westeros, not a prose novel. That makes me wonder if the show writer was closer to creating historical fiction than adapting a novel. That's an interesting perspective. Did you own any Laserdiscs? No, those things were so expensive. You crazy? ABC is airing a special tonight about the Brandy Cinderella at 8 that I will be watching. I keep forgetting that was a thing. Let's see. If you were to choose, what is your favorite episode of Doctor Who, classic or new? My answer to that tends to vary depending on when you ask me. I think it's still The Doctor Falls. It has been Heaven Sent before. I mean, my favorite classic is City of Death, and I don't usually tend to compare classic to new. I don't know. That's like your top 3 contenders. Where did I leave off here? I have so much respect for both Charisma Carpenter and Elijah Dushku for all the crap they've both been through, even outside of Whedon stuff. Yep. Agreed. Kind of cliche question. Favorite superheroes of all time? I'm still partial to Spider-Man. And Miguel O'Hara is the best Spider-Man. Don't at me. Joss Whedon putting the dick in dictatorial. Yep. That fits, Meg. Let's see. Will you ever touch something like Pure Flix or Kirk Cameron's new films? Not unless somebody pays me. Like there are whole swaths of things that like, no. Somebody would have to commission me. Someone would have to pay me money. That's the only way. I remember seeing Rocky Horror on Laserdisc. It was $100 at the time. Yeah, I know. You need to realize also, VHSs weren't that cheap either. Like in the 80s, even into the early 90s, but definitely in the 80s, they were like $20, $25 a piece. And that was in 80s money. That's not adjusted for inflation. Have you read any of the Doctor Who comics from Titan Comics? I have. Somebody sent me a collection. I think Fourth Doctor stuff, which I haven't read. I need to. There's lots of stuff people have sent me, be they movies or stuff to read that I have not gotten to, and I feel bad, and I need to. How much do I have to pay you to do stuff? Depends on what it is, Black Cover. If you check out the Patreon, you will see pricing for commissioning me to review something like a movie or a book or a few episodes of a TV show or a full season of a TV show. Price goes up depending on the size of the project. When you were answered that do you own any vinyl question, I said, what, on my kitchen floor? No, what I could have said was I could have brought up the vinyl dress I used to have. That I don't have anymore. Pureflakes is a strange rabbit hole to fall down. Better YouTubers than me have gone down that rabbit hole, so power to them. But I think that's a pass for me. Oh, hey, Bookworm. Good to see you. Oh, golly, Pureflix. If I ever get out of this financial fix, I will defo commission you to review a Pureflix flick. Oh, dear. Just to see the expression on your face and hear the snark. I have been commissioned to hate watch stuff before. It happens on occasion. When will the next MCU body count come out? I like those. Next month. Tail end of next month. It will be Captain America body count. Speaking of both Pureflix and Buffy, okay, Arobia Scott, a.k.a. Jenny Calendar, is in Unplanned as the evil head of Planned Parenthood. That's a shame. Why do I not try to pirate content? It's funny because I'm kind of going to be addressing that in a video next month. But at this point, my reason for not pirating has changed over time. At this point, I mainly don't pirate because I have very bad luck stepping outside of the standard use of technologies. I have very bad luck with third-party apps. I have very bad luck with mods. I have very bad luck with torrents. I have anything that isn't just plug and play, and anything that I need to do a workaround, or I need to connect to things, or I need to do this kind of backdoor kind of thing to get, I just have very bad luck with. And I'm frankly paranoia. Paranoia is why I don't pirate at this point. I have no sense of moral superiority about pirating, and especially at this point, given what is going on as digital ownership becomes a more and more ephemeral, if not irrelevant, concept, I am not judging people who pirate. Peter Venkman was originally going to be played by John Belushi before he died of combined drug intoxication. I know that, Ms. Wicked Wolf. That's my favorite movie. Yes, I know the trivia for Ghostbusters. I'm aware. What do you do when you get commissioned to review stuff of streaming services you don't own? That actually has come up very rarely. I think it's only actually come up once so far. Because, well, like a lot of the stuff I can rent for $2 on Amazon Prime, and yeah, that's fine. I accept that as a cost of acquiring the product. I think the only time it came up was one of the early reviews. Somebody commissioned me to review the first season of Titans, and I didn't have, because it wasn't even HBO Max at the time. It was on the DC Universe app. Now, I'm not going to say who it was, but that person who commissioned me They pirated the episodes and made them available to me in a way that I was comfortable with. So they sorted that for me. But yeah, it largely hasn't come up. Because really, like, there's a number of services I don't have, but the kind of stuff that I review is covered by most of the stuff that I have. And I've gotten by okay with it so far. Have you ever heard or seen the works of Derek Savage, creator of Cool Cat? He's quite the individual. I feel like I've seen that name, but I'm not familiar. Which Doctor would you say you've seen the most work of outside of Doctor Who, if any? Probably Tennant. Yeah. Well, either Tennant or Eccleston. It would be one of the two. Yeah. I might have asked this before. Which Doctor would be most likely to save the porn industry, and why is it 12? See, 12 would just install an auto-scrubbing extension on everybody's browser to get rid of their browser history and then just let everybody run wild. That's why. Our philosophy is, thank you kindly for the super chat. You mentioned that you don't follow or watch Avatar: The Last Airbender. Would you ever get into it? It's known for legendary character development, morals for kids and adults. Okay, this hasn't come up in a while. I've seen the first 2 seasons. So it's not like I haven't tried. And I don't dislike it. I don't think it's bad. The problem is, for me as a viewer, is I can readily acknowledge that if I had watched it when it was airing, I probably would think much more highly of it than I currently do. The problem is, for me going back and watching it now, I've seen the shows that took what it did and ran further with it, that took what it showed these kinds of cartoon serialized things can be and did more with them. I've seen Infinity Train. I've seen She-Ra and the Princesses of Power. I've seen Owl House. I've seen Amphibia. I've seen these things that are built on the shoulders of Avatar: The Last Airbender. And I acknowledge that and acknowledge its importance. But going back to it, I mean, it's a bit like trying to get someone who's used to modern horror movies to go back and watch, the Bela Lugosi Dracula. They can maybe appreciate it for its historical value, but they're probably not going to get into it to the same level because what they're accustomed to is everything that came after. So I'm kind of in the same situation. I have nothing bad to say about Avatar: The Last Airbender. But I also don't have the same level of praise that everyone else has, which is why I stopped talking about it. I did one review for the first season, and I did not do a review of the second, and I do not intend to do any further reviews on any media related to it, for the simple reason that I know that I don't and probably never will love it the way other people do, but I'm not here trying to put a damper on anybody's fun. I understand their importance, but I'm never going to feel that strongly about them. And I've had people get mad at me simply for not loving something as much as they love it. And I don't like that feeling, especially when it's something I actually think is good. So that's the main reason I don't talk about it. Supreme Omega, thank you very much for the super chat. Thoughts on Dark Knight Returns? I feel it's dated. Elements of it are dated. A lot of the social commentary stuff is pretty dated. So that's like a lot of the cutaways to news footage and that sort of stuff. I think the core story still holds up pretty well, and a lot of the art holds up decently. I think I'm not sure there's anything that Frank Miller has ever done that has aged well, but I think that's probably aged better than most. Moving along. Where did I leave off? How do you feel about non-official streaming sites like 123 Movies or whatever? I tend to get everything from them. If you can ignore the porn pop-ups, you can watch most stuff. I'm not familiar with the site. Like, I haven't even like done a lot of research into what sites are or aren't safe for that kind of thing, just because, again, like, the idea of trying to use them makes me antsy in the first place. Have you seen Arrival? If so, what did you think of it? I've seen it. I love it. I own it on Blu-ray. It's a great movie. I haven't watched that in a while. So there was a Seinfeld effect going on with your experience of Avatar: The Last Airbender. I guess? I'm not sure I'm familiar with that term. When we get... oh, sorry. Thump. 10. When we get the next Avengers film, which characters would you like to be on the team, and do you think Sam Wilson will be the leader? I expect he will definitely be there. Whether or not he'll be the leader kind of depends on who's still around, because we're a number of years out. I am expecting them to load it up with the younger characters. So I'm expecting them to load up, Riri Williams. Trying to say her name fast when I'm halfway through my cup of water is tricky. But I expect them to load up on Riri Williams and on Kamala Khan and some stuff like that. Other than that, I don't know. Because they might also have done the Fantastic Four by then. So depending on how they do Reed Richards, he could possibly be leadership material. I don't know. I think, I suspect whatever is the next Avengers film, part of that story might be a little bit of the leadership vacuum left behind by not having either Tony or Cap there. I suspect that like that unclearness of who should be in charge might end up being part of that story. That's just a guess, though. Oh, I enjoyed the original Dracula. It made me realize how much the show Dark Shadows was inspired by the story. Oh, I enjoyed the original Dracula too, but I saw it when I was like 9. And I'm not saying that like you can't get enjoyment out of the older stuff that influenced the stuff that you love, but I don't think you can fall in love with it the same way. Or at least I can't. Where's my jetpack? Thank you very much for the super chat. I've been enjoying rewatching Babylon 5 alongside you and Jesse. First season is the weakest, but I'm glad you're getting more into the story as it developed. I mean, like, everyone seems to say first season of Babylon 5 is the weakest, and I'm not even necessarily going to argue. I won't know for a while. But I, like, as much fun as I make of some aspects of it, I do that because that's how I get enjoyment. But I do think it's good. John Vinyls, once more, thank you very much. I've been thinking about Stephen Schwartz's musicals a lot lately and would love to see him do Owl House. You're going to have to tell me something Stephen Schwartz has done, because I have seen that name, but I don't. I'm drawing a blank. Meg, thank you so much for the super chat. Is there a story or genre you'd like to see Taika Waititi put his spin on for the big screen? That's an interesting question. Okay, so my brain went somewhere that would actually be a terrible idea. But now it's stuck in my head. Taika Waititi directing the next James Bond movie is what is latching into my head. I don't know if I have a more serious answer than that. Trying to think. I think I just have to roll with that. That's stuck in my head now. That's what my brain has decided it wants. I'm so sad. Sylvester McCoy's going to be at a local con, but COVID's still enough of a concern around here. I can't risk it with my immunocompromised system. Yeah, I'm really sorry about that, Carolyn. It really, yeah. It sucks. Like, the fact this stuff is still going on, it sucks. What do you think of The Boys? I feel like that comes up every other stream. I don't watch The Boys. I don't like the source material. I don't like the majority of Garth Ennis's work. I think the only time he did anything good was on The Punisher, and even then, it was only good for a fairly limited amount of time for Welcome Back, Frank, and Bourne. And then he went off the rails, like he goes off the rails with everything. And I understand that the show does a fair amount of other stuff, and people say, oh, it's better, but like it's still based off his work, and I'm not interested. Lucy Wood, thank you kindly. Hi, Council of Geeks. Will you do a re-ranking of the Doctors once the Centenary special comes out? Lucy! Spoilers! Yes, I am planning on doing that. Yeah, you caught me. Let's see here. That's not what it is. I say it's water. Don't call me a liar. Are the billionaires being murdered in the streets one of the things that TDK are that age poorly? Most people would now would probably support that sort of thing. I mean, I think the part of that that's aged poorly is the idea that the billionaires would ever put themselves in a position where they could be picked off on the street. Ugh. But yeah, it's hard to see that as a bad thing at this point. It's a free-for-all around here, no mask. Yeah, I know, Meg. Like I still wear masks, like when I go grocery shopping or to the post office or whatever, but yeah, nobody else does. Thankfully, nobody gives me crap for wearing one. It's not that kind of area, but yeah, nobody has the damn thing. Stephen Schwartz wrote the songs for Pocahontas, The Hunchback of Notre Dame, and Prince of Persia and Wicked. Oh, huh. Then I kind of wonder if he's a little too seriously minded for Owl House. Honestly, I feel like getting the guys from Star Kid might be a better fit, tone-wise, for Owl House. Let's see. There is actually a Spanish-language version of Dracula that was filmed at the same time on the same sets as the Lugosi one, and most people now consider that the superior film. I have heard that. I have not seen it, but I have heard that. Taika Waititi should make Howard the Duck. That would work. Do you have a favorite auteur director? If so, who and why? I think right now it's probably Guillermo del Toro. Like, he just does something that I love that not a lot of people do, which is to take horror aesthetics but tell something other than horror stories with them, which I appreciate. Want to hear something funny? At first, I wonder if you present as male or female when you reviewed Accession because queer content, but it took you so long you fully transitioned in the interim. Oh, that's true, because you commissioned me to read that book way back when I used to delineate fairly strongly between presenting masculine or feminine, but by the time I finished reading the damn thing and did the review, I was just presenting as like my queer self all the time. Oh boy. Talking about The Boys and similar things, thought on the opinion that we need more hopeful, less dark, and even silly superhero stuff again, not in the cynical sense. I mean, I generally agree with that. I don't think... I'm not going to say there's no place or no need for the darker, more cynical stuff, and there's clearly a market for it, and for some people, that's kind of what they need, but like... Hold on. That's part of why I still love the MCU, is that it largely retains at least one foot in the lighter tone, which I know is what some people don't like about it. But for me, I kind of need that. What's the Seinfeld effect? I'm not sure I actually understand what it is. I suspect I do. I don't think I'm going to be able to explain that for you. If it was entirely up to you, which Doctors would you want back for the 60th? Personally, think McGann would be great with Tennant. Would love to see classics involved. Well, okay. We've already had Tom Baker come back. Not to say that he couldn't again, but like I feel like that work, the curator worked as a really good final appearance for him. So honestly, kind of all the rest of them. Davison, Colin Baker, McCoy, McGann. Bring all the classic ones in. I don't know what you do with them, but that's what I'm inclined to say. Discord, yes. Yeah, give me 1 second. Any slice of life or utopia kind of stories to recommend? I'm very much in a mood for light stories. Ew. Not off the top of my head. Although, okay. I'm going to make a recommendation that is bizarre. I'm going to recommend a episode of Black Mirror to you. Not the show as a whole, but just the episode San Junipero. If you haven't seen that, give that a look. All right, I got to pop over to the Discord for the Council of Geeks Patreon and see what questions were brought up there. Back in a few minutes. Live stream questions from someone possibly sleeping. How many House of Dragons questions have there been so far? Just a couple. If none, are you going to review the episodes? Definitely the first one. We'll see what I feel after that. Ask someone who bailed on Game of Thrones in the final season as why watching something that's increasingly actively annoying you. Like, I stuck through it because I thought, well, it's almost over. How many Affleck is coming back questions have there been so far? Do we care? Actually, that has not come up. Is that in the rumor mill again? That keeps cycling back around every few months. Answer me these questions 3. Which other medium would you like to see Dreams of Fire on and why? I would be interested if someone ever wanted to take a crack at a comic book adaptation. I think the world could suit a TV series. I think the story is too low-key for film, considering how expensive it would be to shoot. If folks don't know, that's my own fantasy novel that we're talking about. Which X-Men character is overrated and why is it Cyclops? I don't think Cyclops is overrated. Nobody likes Cyclops. That's the joke. Everybody hates him. I don't think you can call the character that everybody hates overrated. I don't think that works. Honestly, Professor X is, because the character has been a mess for the last few decades. If money was no obstacle, would you still create content? Yes, I love doing this. Absolutely. I'd create bigger and more elaborate content if money was no object. Okay, one question. I saw someone say that nobody will win the streaming wars. Do you agree? Because I sort of do. Yeah, short version, yes. So the thing is, it took a lot longer for things to level out than I would have expected, but we went through the period initially. I'm going to try and do a short version of this. We went through a period initially where Netflix just got bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger because Netflix became the one-stop shop. And, you know, they just kept expanding and getting more loans and just throwing money at it and just kept going. But eventually, while they could have gotten bigger, then everybody else came in with their own streaming services and the potential audience pool started getting divided up. And the content started getting divided up. And now it became a question of, well, what one has what content I want? And they can't all grow the way Netflix did at first. Because the reason Netflix grew the way it did at first is because for a while, it was basically the only game in town. And it could throw money at the problem basically nonstop because its growth potential was so huge. At this point, there is a much harder ceiling on how big any of these can get. And as we're seeing now with HBO Max, which honestly, what's happening with HBO Max is screwed up in a lot of ways. But what is happening is a much harsher version of what's gonna have to start happening with everything else. You spend a ton of money at the front end to build it up as big as you can, but then you have to start trimming because the growth is not exponential on the platform. So yeah, the whole thing's gonna throttle itself after a while and settle into something not nearly as exciting. What was your favorite part of your holiday that you're willing to share with us? Honestly, I just kind of liked that Liz and I got to share something nostalgic for each of us with the other. So we went to Massachusetts, we went to Cape Cod, and on the way down, we stopped at Wellesley. which is that college is Liz's alma mater. That she went to undergrad there, and she really loved being able to take me around the campus, show me some of the stuff, tell me about what it was like living there. And then we got to Provincetown on the Cape, and I got to show her around and tell her about how this was a place that I always went with my family. The day after Thanksgiving, we always used to go for the day. I got to point out to her, what shops were still there. The candy store where my family always got fudge is still there. I did buy some fudge. Or like point out some things that used to be something else, like the restaurant we used to go to isn't there anymore. I'm like, that used to be it. And I think it was nice for us to both kind of share something of our own history with each other. I think was the nicest thing about it. Have you watched Heartstopper? I have not. I have not had the time. Nor the inclination as yet. Like, I'm sure it's good. I don't doubt that it's good. I've just got so much other crap to do. Okay, so these are the questions regarding The Culture, which is a book series that I have done reviews on 2 of the books so far. And I'm working on a 3rd one. So let me try and get through these. What do you think of The Culture's sort of justice system as described in Surface Detail? I mean, the mind telling Ledger if she has a problem with its choice to slap drone her, she'd have to call for a direct democratic vote to overrule the idea. The Culture has some anarchist elements, and resolving disputes by direct democracy is meant to be part of that. I think it's an interesting way. It's an interesting outgrowth for a society that has basically given over the vast majority of its decisions to machines, and actually had that work out well for them, which is also just inherently one of the things I find really interesting about The Culture, both the book series and the society, because generally, people give their decision making over to machines is almost always a dystopia, or then the robot uprising or whatever. But like, it really actually worked out incredibly well for them. So like, that notion and sort of the workaround, it's just, I just find a lot of it interesting. I don't know, like, if I'd ever use how much, if any of it, I'd ever use as a model for what a society should be, or whether I'd call any of it utopian, but I find it all fascinating. There's an interview with Banks, that's the author, somewhere on YouTube where he said he believed if people had the power to change sex at will, that would promote gender equality, because otherwise you'd end up with too many people opting to be the gender that has the most privilege. Does the fact that he believed that show as progressive as he was, he didn't understand how gender identity actually works? Yes, it does show that from his position as a cisgender man, he did not understand that many people feel a very strong draw to be something specific. Most cis people don't get that. And it's not because they don't strongly identify with their own identity as a cisgender man or woman, but because they haven't had to move. They haven't had to shift to be who they are. So they don't really appreciate that. That having been said, as with a lot of stuff related to The Culture, I do think that the whole thing is far enough in the future that it's an argument could be made that once it gets ingrained in a society for long enough, that gender is changeable at a whim and at a wish, gender and sex for that matter, because of the technology that they have, that a lot of those differences would fade away. But because, as I've said before, not all trans people have massive dysphoria. And so dysphoria and a need to be this thing is not the only thing that drives people. But yeah, his thought process is very detached and intellectual about something that is, for trans people especially, deeply personal and emotional. But, he meant well. The hell parts of Surface Detail, for you, does the fact that the Pavulians are non-humanoid, I think they're meant to be like 2 tiny trunked elephants, make the description of the horrible happening to them less disturbing than if they did look humans? No, because the thing is, my brain still plugs in humans. And I don't know if that's a standard reader thing, but like the same thing happens to me whenever I reread Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, I keep forgetting Zaphod has two heads. When I picture him in my mind, I forget that he has two heads until the book specifically mentions it. My brain plugs in the standard template. And so with the Pavulians, I frequently forget that they are quadrupedal with two trunks as, working similar to how we would use our arms until something in the actual writing mentions it. So the thing is, I actually pictured the hell sequences with people because my brain wouldn't plug in the alien shapes. Again, I don't know if that's typical, if that's just my brain. Anyway, I'm back to the main chat. I am out of the Discord. I see we have some super chats. All right. Supreme Omega, thank you very much. I'm surprised there are not much adaptations on Married Spider-Man. The marriage existed for 20 years and there were classic stories in that era. There's two reasons for that, if I were to guess. The first is, for some goddamn reason, every single continuity of Spider-Man feels the need to start with his origin, which means they have all given us, at least initially, a teenage Peter. Boy, am I sick of it. And I love Tom Holland. I think he's great in the part, but I am so done with teenage Spider-Man. I'm so done with it. And part of that has to also do with the fact that when I actually read Spider-Man in the comics, I read him in the 90s. He was in his 30s, married. So, I want to see that, but we never frickin' get it. So, but even aside from the fact that they keep redoing the damn origin, and so did every TV show for that matter. Spider-Man, Spectacular Spider-Man, Amazing Spider-Man, all the TV shows start with him as a freaking teenager too. The corporates have decided that part of the appeal of Spider-Man is that he's a teenage superhero. Now, that is absolutely true of part of his original appeal in the comics because it was unique at the time. And certainly the people who first read that at the time, that they all say they latched onto that. But he was a teenager for 5-6 years. Then was in college. Then he's been an adult. He has been an adult in the comics for so long. Okay, but that's only the one reason. The other is, for some idiotic reason, writers hated Mary Jane. Or at least hated the fact that they were married. And Marvel collectively seemed to hate it. And a lot of specific writers seem to hate it. And it's dumb. And you can have a superhero in a stable relationship. He did it. He made it work. It was great. And just, I'm still pissed about One More Day. Funny you mentioned Hitchhiker's Guide. I was thinking that. No, good. See, someone's on the same page. Does plugging in humans by default apply to stuff with regular animal protagonists like Watership Down or Red Raptor, or just alien stuff? Pretty much just alien stuff, Stephen, because the way that the characters in something like the culture books, the way that they talk and interact and intellectualize is all very human for the most part. And so my brain plugs in human because I don't have a direct frame of reference for what they actually are. Whereas I have frame of reference for, rabbits in Watership Down or anything like that. So yeah, that's not an issue with the animal stuff. Really, just with the alien stuff. Plot twist: Peter Parker is actually stuck in a time loop. As soon as he graduates high school, he starts high school over again. Oh God, he's in hell. Have you ever watched Z Nation? From what I understand, it's a zombie film that doesn't take itself too seriously. It's kind of ridiculous. Think you'd enjoy it. I have not. I'm kind of burnt out on zombies, if I'm going to be completely honest. I say that as someone who has a zombie concept half written. Everyone's still freaking out over the 60th teasers while I'm speculating on what the 14th Doctor's opening line will be and what the new change to his body he'll comment on. I think people are freaking out over the 60th because it's what we actually have a basis for. But, you know, we'll see what happens. The joke I made earlier, if you did do the review pre-transition, what would you have done? My guess was you'd have let your hair down specifically when you got to the gender bender. Given how I was handling that kind of material on video at the time, yeah, that's probably correct. How was the beach? The beach was great, the Goji Shea. It was quite nice. I hadn't realized how much I missed the beach. Like the ocean beach. Like, I've been to beaches. We have lakes. But I hadn't been to an ocean beach in a long, long time. And I hadn't been to a beach on Cape Cod in forever. And one of the things that's really cool about Cape Cod is because of the way the Cape curls around, it's one of the few places on the East Coast where you can be on a beach and see the sun setting over the ocean. Because normally you got to be on the West Coast for that. But because of the way the Cape curls around, you can actually watch the sunset into the ocean from New England, which is very cool. And I'd kind of forgotten that. It was nice. It was really nice. Stuff I was overdue to do. Did you like the Hitchhiker's Guide movie? No. It's part of the reason I don't like Sam Rockwell. Are you excited for Miguel O'Hara in the Spider-Verse? I'm excited and nervous because he is my favorite Spider-Man, which means I really want him to be done well because we have gotten so little of him. So just don't blow it. Just don't blow it, please. Like Oscar Isaac is a real good voice pick, so there is that. Oh, John Vinyls. I missed one of your super chats. I'm sorry. In some ways, Owl House is kind of Del Toro vibe. To be quite honest, yeah, a little bit brighter, but yeah, not a million miles off. And Lucy Wood. We are going to wrap it up soon. So let's see. Excuse me, Lucy. Hi. Do you think that Doctor Who will do Series 14 in early 2023? No. I expect we will get Series 14 proper in 2024 because I do not expect Series 14 to air ahead of the 60th anniversary special. And if they hold for the actual proper 60th anniversary, that means November of 2023. So earliest would be immediately following that. I am not expecting us to get Series 14 until 2024. Sorry if you got asked this 1,000 times already, but I only started watching it when it came to Disney Plus. Do you watch The Orville? I don't. I saw like the first 4 or 5 episodes, the first season. Like, it was fine, but then I just had other stuff to do. Apparently they hated... Okay, so this is about Spider-Man marriage. Apparently they hated cutting to Mary Jane worries about Peter Parker and couldn't figure out what to do with her other than that, despite there being a ton you can do with her other than that. Right? Like, if you're sick of writing cut to Mary Jane worrying about her, then stop having her worry about him all the damn time. Do something. Just write something else. You're a writer. Think of something. God, do I hate that nonsense. It's right up there when people say, well, Batman can never be in a relationship because he would not be able to keep being Batman. Just write it so he does. Says who? Just write it. Like, sometimes, some things you can't write because it breaks the character. I refuse to believe that breaks the character. That's such nonsense. Writers, especially male writers, have such an aversion to writing happy, stable couples, especially in superhero media. It's freaking exhausting. Rewatched your Dark Crystal video the other day. Your impression of Jen when the Gartham soldiers burst in killed me. I don't even remember what I did, but I'll take your word for it. Overdue review of the beach? Yeah, a little bit. You never said what you think of Luce's new ponytail. I didn't even notice. I'm not someone who notices hairstyles. Like very sincerely. It's a good thing that most TV shows, when a character gets a haircut, like other characters go, oh, hey, you got a haircut, because I probably wouldn't notice otherwise. Don't know if you've been asked this. Have you read anything from the SCP Foundation wiki? I have not. I know what it is, but no, I haven't. Should an alternative Colin Baker come in to do a worthy regeneration story? Do you think that would work? I think it's better just to move on. That's one of those things where I'm like trying to fix the problem. I think you're better just ignoring it and moving forward rather than trying to back up and fix it. Anyways, yes, thank you for the reminder, Caro. And Twitch, tomorrow I will be, what will I be playing? What did I got something today. What the hell did I get? I'm trying to remember what the hell I'm even streaming. What the hell was it? Shoot. What? Owl Boy. There we go. I'm playing Owl Boy on Twitch tomorrow, 10:30 Eastern Daylight Time. On Friday, I'll be playing more of that, most likely, again on Twitch. I should have tomorrow at some point up in the break room a review of the first episode of House of the Dragon, and Thursday will be a review, again in the break room, of the new episode for She-Hulk. And Saturday is my thoughts on the Sandman show on Netflix. It ended up being a main channel video because I had a lot more thoughts than would just be in a normal rambling review. So that's what's up for the week. I think that's everything. I think that's everything. Does it make a difference how alien the aliens are? Like the pavilions just look like small elephants, not giant balloon octopus things like the Affront. Oddly enough, the Affront is one of the few aliens that I can think of that I did. I was able to picture the alien version. I think it was because like their behavior felt less approximate to humans. So like their behavior also felt a little bit more alien. So I think that might have helped me plug in something closer to how they were actually supposed to look. You notice Amity's new purple hair, right? That I noticed. Yes, that I did notice. All right, trying to wrap it up. Thank you all for joining me. Thank you for being here, for the questions, for the super chats, for just chilling for a bit. That's good water. So I hope that you have a good rest of the week. I hope that you will tune in for some of the other stuff that I've got going on that I talked about. And I hope that you remember that you are beautiful, you are valid, and you are loved. You're the council. I'm just running the meetings. And until next time, this council is adjourned. McCavity!